You don't die in your first job from it being really hard and challenging. You die from the absolute monotony and the low-level tasks you have to do for basically pennies on the dollar. The average entrepreneur makes about $46,000 a year, which is great, but not when you've been making zero for 3 years. A lot of terrible things can happen to you when you don't believe in yourself. And I think the universe, it will tell you kind of what you need to do. And then if you don't listen, it'll ignore you for a while. And then at some point, it'll just kick you in the face.
I want to look at 3 scenarios of our audience and where they sit and look at what your advice would be for them at that point. So let's say we have a listener who just graduated from college. What should they be doing first? What should they be thinking about right now?
Yeah. Well, here's how I think about making money. We have a 4-step process that I think if you don't have money now, here is how you make it consistently over time and you have your money go out and bring back friends with it. The first is you've got to learn. We've got to obsess in the beginning about one thing only. It's not what your salary is. It's how can I cram as much information as humanly possible in my brain in order for me to then do the next thing, which is increase my skill stack. After I learn, can I increase my skills so that my skills are more valuable today than they were yesterday? And the third is how can I increase my income? So before you go thinking about investing in things overall, how can I just make more money currently with what I'm doing? And then finally, we can get to invest. So after we do these 3 steps, the final one is how do I take my money and make my money work for me? But in the beginning, you don't have money. You don't really have skills. You probably don't have a ton of connections. And so what you actually want to do is use your sweat equity and your experience and time as a really maybe hungry individual to get money to eventually be able to invest the money. And I think that's the other thing young people are told that's a lie, is that you can go out as a young person and, Fendi, Gucci, Prada, Lamborghini on the internet, make a bunch of fast cash and Airbnb arbitrage or whatever. Man, I wish somebody had told me earlier on that's a terrible thing to do.
Yeah. And I think what's really interesting though is when you're talking about improving of skills, I think when we graduate college, you think that that was the skill, like that your degree was the investment in the skill. But really what you're talking about are high value skills, talents, abilities that actually make an impact in a workplace. And those are really different. And so I'd meet a lot of young people who sadly have spent so much money on their degree, are really smart academically,
yep.
But then that skill doesn't translate into knowing how to make their company more money, knowing how to lead people really well, knowing how to build functions, systems, processes. And therefore it's like, well, wait a minute, I just studied all these years, but it doesn't translate.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, for a long time, we employed people from the top universities and financial firms. We would go out and we would hand select them because that would be an indicator of their grit, perseverance, and potentially their intellect, their IQ. Now, by and large, you're starting to see a lot of the top institutions bypass that. Google doesn't mandate that you have a college degree if you're going into an engineering degree, actually. And I think that should be really liberating for us. It's basically breaking down this barrier that's a 6-figure barrier that allowed for the few, the elites, to stair step over everybody else. And now it's actually saying, how bad you want it? And don't tell me what you learned. Show me what you can do, or even better, show me what you did. And so I think the resume of the future is actually, if somebody came to you, Jay, and they were like, I just graduated from Wharton. I am very smart. I also did my undergraduate degree at Harvard. I now want to come work for you. You'd be like, what do you know how to do? Do you know how to market? Do you know how to grow a beverage company? Do you know how to increase our investment return? Oh, you kind of theoretically have looked about how to do that in a case study? That's probably less interesting to you than somebody that goes, you know what? I was part of the beverage team at Erewhon and Whole Foods, and I figured out sort of across the country how they buy different pieces of inventory.
Yeah, you got my attention already.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. And maybe because I want to help you grow this individual business, which I know you care about because I see it on your socials, I put together this little spreadsheet for you. Here's the things they care about. Could I come work for you for free for 3 or 6 months? And if that works out, could we do something better and bigger? The problem that people usually have on the internet when I throw out the word work for free is young people are like, remember that part where you told us that we were broke and we don't have any money? So I'm not trying to dismiss that at all, but I do think we have to be honest about the fact that when we're young, You're going to have to work harder than you think, longer than you think, doing stuff you don't like with people you probably don't like until eventually you get the right to do something really interesting. But like, you don't die in your first job from it being really hard and challenging. You die from the absolute monotony and the low level tasks you have to do for basically pennies on the dollar.